Welcome back to another HaasOnline training session. In this one, we're going to take a look at the local API that HaasOnline software exposes, allowing you to interact with the software on a programming level. And what that means is there's individuals who would prefer to have more control over what is going on, or maybe make their own programs alongside Haas that interacts with it to either place orders on their behalf or manage the bots that are created itself. And there's a lot of tools. If you've seen me in the third-party apps room in Discord, I've created some very cool examples for them. So if you're interested, take a look there. And basically, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and do that using the Python API wrapper. We do have one for C#, which will be in another video. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and make sure HaasOnline is set up with the local API. So once you're brought to the login page, go ahead, go to Settings, Local API, and by default, it'll look something like this: 86 and then blank, right? And the first one, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and enter 127.0.0.1. For the API port, I always use 9000. It seems to work across the board for everyone, so 9000 is what we'll be using for this example. Then type in a private key. In this case, I'm just going to use HERP, and then you're going to go ahead and hit save. Now what will happen is Haas will shut itself down and restart. Now it's important to note that there are times when it brings itself back up, the API won't actually be started, which will give you some of the common errors that occur where people are trying to interact with the API, but it doesn't actually allow them to connect. So once it starts up, you're going to go ahead and wait for it to get to the bottom, or it gets to the end of its startup process, and it'll let you know if the local API has started up. So how you'll know that it started up is you'll see this: Open API server started on 127.0.0.1.9000. You want to see this Open API server started. If you don't see it, go ahead, reset it up, go into the settings, hit save again, close it, and then reopen it. Once you see this, you're good to go. So you need to keep this open, so just go ahead and minimize it, and you're good to go. The next thing you want to do is we're going to go ahead and create the environment we need to begin development with Python. Now there's a few things you need to have pre-set up, which I won't go through in this video, but you need to have Python 3.7 installed. So if you go to Google, just Google Python 3.7, you'll find a download for it. Now this can be, 3.7.0 or 3.7 past it, but you just need to be on the 3.7x version. Now the API can work for 3.6.6, but what I found was for some reason there was a discrepancy between Windows and the Linux version. So 3.7 if you want to be safe and just have it going. If you need instructions on how to set that up, there will be some links down in the description explaining that. Now, once you have that set up, let's go ahead and create a new folder. And we're just going to name this, let's just call it example. Now in that example, we're going to want to pull up a terminal. So I'm going to use CMD, which is on Windows. But if you're on Linux, this is your Terminix or Termx, whatever you might be using. But for me, I'm doing this on Windows. So we're going to go to the desktop, and we're going to go to example. Now what we're going to want to do is we need to set up what's called our virtual environment. Now you should know what this is if you're looking to do something like this, but basically it's creating a smaller environment. That way we don't mess up the system environment. And what we're going to do is just do .env, and what that's going to go ahead and do is create this virtual environment which we can work out of. Once that's set up, we're just going to run the following to activate the environment. On Linux, this kind of changes. On Linux, it would be .env/bin/activate, but for us, it's scripts. So once we have that, let's go ahead and install the Haas API. So for this, we just do HaasOm, HaasOme API, pip install, which will pull the dependencies and install it. And then to make sure we always have them, or we have a file that talks about it, just do pip freeze, this little caret, requirements, whatever, close enough. And you're good to go. Now using your favorite text editor, we're going to open up that folder. So for me, I just go to open folder. I'm going to go to desktop, example, select that folder. If you're using Notepad, just open up, just what you're going to want to do is create a file in here. It's a new text file, and just name it main.py. Yes. Or in your text editor. So for me, I use Sublime. Just go to new file and then make it there. Once that's done, you're ready to go. So the first thing we need to do, now that we have it set up, is go ahead and import our API. So in this case, we have the from HaasOnline client. Now the HaasOnline client is how we interact. It has all of our API endpoints, and if that doesn't mean anything to you, then you probably need to go and do a bit more reading, learn about them. But basically, it allows us to interact with the actual framework and the software. To find out more about this before we get started on all this, you can actually go to the GitHub and there's a full getting started guide as well as API documentation to get you started. So from here on out, I'm going to assume that you have understanding of Python, virtual environments, REST endpoints, and how to use modules and how to read documentation. So let's go ahead and keep going. So from here, once we've imported the correct HaasOnline client, what we're going to want to do is test or create the initial connection. So what that looks like is pretty straightforward. We just go ahead, copy this over, and we know our secret's here. So all this is saying is our REST endpoints live at our local API, or the REST endpoints live on 127.0.0.1 on port 9000. And then what we want to do is go ahead and test the credentials. So we'll do test creds result equals client.test credentials. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to return something called a HaasClientResponse. All of the Haas Python client returns this, or calls return this HaasClientResponse. And what this is it's an error code with an enum, which you can see is like bot does not exist, so on and so forth. An error message, which is just a string stating a bit more information about what error occurred, and then the result. Now the result can be anything. So in order to know what the result's going to be, go to the documentation and look at the call. So for example, on the get account details, which takes an account GUID, you'll see it returns in the .result an account information object, and you can see this account information object and what it consists of. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and verify this works. So using that information, we know that the HaasClientResponse returns an error code, this enum error code, and we know that there's something called success. So we need to check to see if the error code is equal, and we know it's an enum error code. Now, for those who are watching, keeping up, we know that enum error code is not a default Python. It's actually a Haas API enum code, so we need to import that. Enums.enum error code, import enum error code. Now we can actually utilize that and then do .success. So what this is saying is, if we created this connection and we test the credentials, if that call comes back successful, then we know we've successfully connected to the Haas API. But if it doesn't, then we know we failed. So we can just go ahead and do an else print failed. So let's go ahead and run it. So inside that terminal, CLS, do python main.py, and boom, you'll see it says worked. And we can verify that by looking at our Haas terminal window. If you're on Windows, if you're on Linux, you won't have this available, but you'll see the calls went through. So now that that's working, what we can do is let's go ahead and make a different call. So the first thing I usually like to do is let's show all of the enabled accounts. Let's see everything that is enabled. So what we can do is from inside this block, we know this is successful. Let's go ahead and do accounts equals HaasOnline.account data API. Now the Haas API is broken up into sub APIs. There's the account data API, the advanced orders, the trade API, trade bot, custom bot, and market data. And each one gives you different information that you need to know about. And you can find all the calls they support within the documentation itself. So what we're going to do is we're looking for the account data, and we can get all enabled accounts or get all account details. Let's go ahead and call get all account details, and my editor tells me what the return type is, but we know it's going to give me a dictionary of account information. So let's go ahead and do that. Always verify that the error code was successful. And then let's just go ahead and print account.result. And .result, as we stated, holds my information or holds the result of the call. So if we do that, we can see now we have all these calls and then the account information block. So this is kind of unreadable. So let's go ahead. Let's do this. Let's do for key value in result and then items. For those who don't know what's going on, basically I'm calling the dictionary items. I'm saying, hey, I want to get all key and value paired, or I want to get all keys and all values together for every item in the dictionary. Then we're going to go ahead. Let's just do K and V to verify that we got that. We did. So you can see the key for this is actually the account GUID and then the account information. So let's just go ahead and make it account : GUID. So we can just do print and then account GUID. And for the purist out there, this is going to hurt their soul, but it works for quick. And then let's do account name. And we can actually get the account name because we know that V, the value, actually contains an account name. Let's go ahead. Let's show you how we know that by pulling this over. Account details. So we're getting all account details and it comes with this account information. So let's go ahead and search that. Generally they're clickable, but it looks like I made a mistake there. So go to account data, account information. All right, so account information holds a GUID, the name, the platform type, which platform type, just to get into it, is it a leverage, margin, or trade or spot? And then a connected price source is the exchange that it's connected to. But for our sake, we just want the name, so we can do v.name. And then let's go ahead and get rid of this. And there we go. So now we have the account GUID and the account names. So let's try to do something more interesting. Generally, what we find is people want to do two things. They want to create an order, and then they want to configure a bot. So we're going to do both of those things. The first thing we need to do is let's go ahead and create an order. So let me get to where I need to. So to create an order is pretty straightforward. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to access the Trade API and then place what's called a spot order. And I can show you this by going here, go to Trade API, and then what we're looking for is place spot order. Let's place a buy order. And what it takes is account GUID, which we know we can grab, the primary coin, secondary coin, the price, the amount, and then all of this is optional. So we'll just leave that out. But we know we need to provide it with the account GUID and then the pair. So in this case, we're going to use my simulate account LD, which is just GDAX, to place this order. So we know that we have our account list, and to make life easy, I'm just going to use the first item in there. So, or better yet, let's just do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I'm going to make our lives easy. I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to just say account GUID equals that. And let's just get rid of this code since it's no longer needed. Obviously, you would do this programmatically in your code. So let's do HaasOnline dot, and then what we're going to do is we need the Trade API, and then we're going to place a spot buy order. So the first thing we need is the account GUID, which we have. Then we need a primary coin. So let's just do BTC USD. And then we need the price. Let's make a really crazy price. We want to buy at 7,000. I know, really crazy, right? We're going to buy 1 BTC. And that's really all we need to supply. We can put a timeout. So if we want to put a timeout, so let's say I never want this order to time out, we can put 0, or I can put timeout in 10 minutes, 20, so on and so forth. I could also set what is called our user GUID. So for people building third-party applications and they want to manage the GUID themselves so they can keep track of order IDs, etc., what we can do is you can specify your own GUID here on the, what parameter is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on the 7th parameter. So if I can make this my GUID here, and that's what the Haas API will store it as. Or you can leave this blank and you can add what's called a template GUID. And now the template GUID are built-in Haas GUIDs, which are pretty straightforward. Let me go ahead and pull them up. A few moments. Let me make sure to grab them off screen for you. So this is what the GUIDs look like. And essentially what we can do is we could do a locked limit order, which is a 10-minute timeout, a market order, a no timeout GUID, which means put a limit order in with no timeout. And this supersedes the timeout specified. So if we were to use this GUID, or we use that for our template GUID, then this 0 value, this timeout, won't matter. And then this quick timeout, which is just a minute timeout. Put the order in, doesn't pass, take it out. But for our sake, we're just going to stick with this limited no timeout GUID. So we can do that. Let's go ahead and delete that, get that out of the way. And that's good. We could also, if we want to just default to the normal timeout, the normal limit GUID, we can just leave it like this. So we're going to go ahead, leave it like that, just so we can move forward. And that's really all we need to do to place this order. So let's go ahead, let's run it. I will pull Haas next to me so you guys can see this order go through. I'm going to open this order list up. Let's press play. And boom, you'll see that the order just got executed or the order is going in for simulated LD, and there it is, buying one Bitcoin at 7,000 USD. Pretty simple. So let's go a little bit deeper than that. Let's go ahead and say, all right, well, we know we can place orders. That's pretty simple. What if I wanted to configure a bot? Well, a bot is pretty much the same process. We need to know what we're going to set up, and then we're going to use it. So for the sake of simplicity, we'll use one of the easier bots to set up. Let's use the ping pong bot. So let's pull back the documentation. Let's look over here. Let's go to, we're going to use a custom bot, so custom bot API. And what we're going to want to do is first we got to add custom bot. If I can find it. Where is it? Let's create new. Should be new custom bot. There it is. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this new custom bot object, and we know it takes an account GUID, the bot type, which is an enum custom bot type. So we click that, it lets us decide what bot we want to pick. I'll show you how to use that here in a little bit. What name we want to give it, the primary coin, the secondary coin, and then a contract name. Now the contract name is very specific to exchanges that require a contract name, specifically BitMEX. BitMEX requires a contract name, but we're not going to deal with that. We're using GDAX. We're going to assume we're going to create this new bot. So let's go ahead. We know we want to create a new bot, so let's get rid of this code. We still need that account GUID. We're going to do new bot equals some client dot custom bot API dot new custom bot, and then we got to give it the account GUID. We have to give it a bot type, so we need to do enum custom bot type, and since our program doesn't know about it, we got to import it. Okay, now we can do that dot, and then we're going to do ping pong. We need to give it a name, so we'll call it my custom bot. Give it a coin, same thing, we'll just do BTC USD, and then a contract name. So what this is going to do is it's going to return a specified bot type object. So what that means is whatever bot we gave it, whatever bot we told it, that's the type of bot that's going to come back to us. So for example, if we go to ping pong bot, so we know that a ping pong is just a base custom bot. And the reason this is the ping pong bot doesn't have any special logic. It's not like a scalper bot, which has a target percentage and safety, which I could show you actually has its own object. So here we have a scalper bot. you'll see that a scalper bot inherits the base custom bot. So alongside all of this information, it also contains minimum target change and max allowed reverse change, which is target percentage and the safety percentage. The ping pong bot doesn't need all that, so it's pretty straightforward to set up. So once we've created this custom BT or this new bot, we can go ahead and set it up. So how do we set up a ping pong bot? So to set up a ping pong bot is also straightforward. If we look here, to set up a ping pong bot, we need to give it the account GUID. We have all this. Bot GUID. This is important. This is the GUID that's returned by the new custom bot. I'll show you how to use it, don't worry. Set the coins again, set the contract names, the leverage amount, and then here's the important stuff: trade amount, the position, so what we should start in. In this case, we're going to want to start in either BTC or USD. We could say BTC, and then the fee amount. So let's go ahead and set up a bot. So we're going to name this setup, or let's just name it SBot for short. This is going to be the bot that's been set up, and then set up ping pong bot, and then give it an account GUID. Then we got to give it the bot GUID. So let's just use that and use the bot GUID. It should be that. And let's verify that by going to our base object here. And yep, it's lowercase GUID. Okay, and then what we're going to want to do is from there, let's go back. We need a bot name. So let's just give it the same. Let's just use new bot.name. And then our primary, secondary coin. So we can just use new bots, what we already know. And we can make sure that it has all the fields we want. So I'm not going to grab the market. So let's just do this. So if I wanted to get the information of the new bot, I'd have to pull price market, go into the price market, then grab the primary, secondary. So I could do that by looking at it this way. So do that, market dot, and then primary currency. I guess that looks cleaner for the code and video. So let's just go do that. And this is just so we make sure we're using all the same information. So now we have those set. We need a contract name and leverage. So blank that, blank leverage. The trade amount, let's say it's going to trade with 1 BTC, and the position we want it to start in BTC. And then a fee, I think, what is GDAX? 0, let's just say it's 0.25. And that's it. So once that's done, we have a trade bot that's set up. And then to activate the bot, we simply have to call the custom bot API activate custom bot, and then it just takes a GUID. And with extra, you can ignore that. That is more for internal calls, and we can definitely cover that in a different video. So we just do sbot.GUID, and then just set false. And that's it. So what should happen is a new bot will be created. We will set it, which is a ping pong bot. We set up the ping pong bot and then we activate it. So let's go ahead. Let's see if this works. Pull this in. Python main.py. So it looks like we failed, which we knew we would on this. But you see, the first part of my custom bot was made. So let's go ahead and delete this. And we know exactly why it failed, because we didn't handle these correctly. So we know that this returns a client response object, and we have to call .result on it. And generally we want to verify that every part of the command was successful. But in this case, we'll just do it like this. This is a very bad way to do it, but it helps to get it done quickly. So we're going to go ahead and run it again. Still failed. But why did it fail? Market. So why did that fail? Well, this is good. This is how we debug what is going on with our code, because it's called price market. So let's go back here, pull that up, and we know that it is not market, it's price market. And make sure that's a one word. And there it is. My custom bot set up with 1 BTC 0.25. It's good to go. And it got activated, as you can tell. But let's go ahead, let's stop it, and let's run it again. That way you guys can see it run in all its glory. So let's run it again. There it is. And it's exactly what we wanted to be set. So if we go in here, we can see that the account GUID set, we created the new custom bot, we got the result of that, stored it here, set up a new ping pong bot, got the result, stored it here, and then we activated it. And this is just a very small part of everything we can do with the software. We can run backtests doing this, so I guess we could cover that real quick before we actually move forward with this. Let's go ahead and let's run a backtest. So we have our SBot set up, and all we have to do is get rid of this. Let's look back at our API documentation. Go to custom bot, and we're going to look up backtest. So there's 3 backtest options. There's backtest custom bot, backtest custom bot on market, and then backtest custom bot Unix time. Now there's two here that need to be noted. The normal backtest custom bot and the backtest custom bot Unix time, they actually grab the latest information from the market, from the exchange. And the reason it's important to know this is Haas internally will continue grabbing information from a bot for 5 minutes if one of these are called. So even if the bot gets destroyed, it's always going to be pulling information for 5 minutes, which is bad if you test over 120 pairs and now you have to make 125 calls to the exchange to update the price. There's the potential for, issues to occur with, rate limit, etc. Now Haas will do its best to make sure that doesn't happen, but if it needs to update 125 calls or 125 price sources, it will kind of be lenient on it to try to get that information for you. So we don't really want to call these unless we know we're going to keep the bot. But this one is the one I really like to use. And the reason I like to use it is it allows us to test, it allows us to test the bot on any of the marketplaces without actually telling Haas to pull the information from the exchange. So when we call this command, this backtest custom bot on market, it only pulls from Haas price servers, meaning we can run as many backtests as we want on as many pairs with zero risk or with zero worry of the exchange that we're testing against rate limiting us because it comes from our servers, which is great. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do a backtest on SBot. So we can just do a backtest equals awesome client custom bot API backtest bot on market, and we just need the account GUID. Let's just do SBot just to keep things moving straight. The minutes to test, so let's just do about a day-ish. The primary coin, we want to keep the coins the same, so let's just grab this, and this could also be just SBot. Let's just keep that. And we need the contract name, and since we don't use contract names, we could just leave that blank. So what we have set up is we know the custom bot on market requires an account GUID, the bot GUID, how long to backtest the primary coin, secondary coin. Now, this will work assuming we have the history loaded. If we don't have the history loaded, what will happen is it will attempt to do the backtest, it will fail, and then Haas won't actually backtest the market. So how do we ensure that the backtest is actually, that we actually receive all of the backtest information? Well, what we need to do is a few things. So we need to ensure the price history is grabbed, which we can do. And we need to make sure that we give it enough time to grab it. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually define a new function, and we're going to call it SafeHistoryGet. If you keep track of the post I make in the Discord, I've already pasted this function. So we're just going to go ahead and do this. Now what this function does is it says, while our history results false, what we're going to want to do is try to grab history. If the returned result is not greater than 1, and we know that history dot result, well, I guess we don't know. So let's look at the API real quick. If we look at the get, I believe, market data, we look at GetHistory, it returns a list of price ticks. And it's important to note that if Haas does not have the price information, the endpoint will return success. So the Haas API says, yeah, everything went through, but it will return blank because the Haas software will then go and try to grab the history. So what we need to do is we need to verify that we actually got history back. If we didn't, we just need to sleep for a few seconds or a second. So we need to import sleep. And then if everything worked out, if we do get it, then we return the history. Pretty simple. And this is blocking, so if you're in the threaded programming land, you need to know this will block. Aside from that, what we need to do is we need to grab the history before we perform our backtest. So we're going to do SafeHistoryGet. We're going to do the HaasOnline client. So it's looking for this. And since it's a function, we're just going to go ahead and pass that through. Now, the next thing it actually needs is it needs the enum price source. So how do we actually get the price source, so the information regarding what exchange it's on? Well, we know that, I'm pretty sure we can grab it from the base order bot itself. So the base custom bot, if we go to price market returns a price source. And if we look at the price source, that is the exchange, and we need to pass that through. So let's just go ahead and get sbot.pricemarket. And then it's just price source. And that will tell the Haas client what exchange to pull this information from. And then we need to provide it with the currency information, the primary, secondary. Then we need to tell it the contract name, which is blank. Interval. Interval is what the ticker or what the candlestick should be. Should it be the 1 minute, the 3 minute, the 5 minute, 15, so on and so forth. In this case, almost always you're going to want the 1 minute. And then how much information. Generally, this is the testing time times 2. It's pretty safe to do it that way, or just a little bit more than testing time. So for our sake, we'll just do 2800, and that's it. So now, what have we done? We're creating a new bot called my custom bot, which is ping pong bot. We're setting it up with these parameters, saying we want it to be on the BTC USD market, no contract name. We want to do a zero leverage for the amount of one BTC, starting in the BTC position with a 0.25% fee. Then what we're saying is, okay, before we call our backtest, we need to make sure we grab the history. So we're going to do this safe history call, which is to grab history. And then we're going to run the backtest for a day-ish on it. And then what we can do is, once that's done, we can do backtest.result.roi. And that should give us what the result was for the, or what the ROI was for that backtest call. So let's go ahead. Well, let's do it this way, and let's run it. The first things first, we got to make sure our indents are in order, which isn't if we're not all in spaces. So let's just fix that. Go back here. No import sleep because it's called time. I know for those who are watching the video, you were screaming while that was going on. So enum price source is not defined. Of course it's not, because we never included it. So let's go ahead and do from. Okay. Let's do that. And there it goes. So it ran the backtest, but you'll notice immediately the result I misspelled. So let's go ahead. Let's delete these again. Okay. Let's go ahead and fix that quick issue. Okay. Let's do that test again. Boom. So our backtest result was minus 2.2%. Now you'll notice something immediately apparent, which is the original bot we created, its trades aren't there and the backtest didn't occur. So what that call does, alongside just running a backtest, it creates a copy of the bot, runs the backtest on the copy of the bot, and then gets rid of it. That way it's not there, but you get the data you wanted. So in this case, we got the ROI. But if we wanted to keep that information, then all we have to do is call the setup bot again or all we have to do is call the custom bot on market or custom bot backtest custom bot rather than backtest custom bot on market. That way the information will save. And that's really it. That's how to do a majority of the actions you want to do. I know this video got really long and it was kind of rough at the beginning. There's just a lot of information to try to get to you guys, and I've hoped that this is one of the ways that can do it. And like I said, there's a lot of functionality within the API itself. You can look here at the documentation. This link will also be in the description of the video. And I'm really hoping to see some really cool stuff you guys come up with. I know there's a few guys who have been working with the not only the Python API but the C# API as well, and they've come up with some cool stuff. So hopefully this is a good, decent introductory to it. Yeah, and until next time, if you guys have any questions, please join us on Discord. Ask us in the entire developer area. A lot of us are very active. We talk back and forth. So if you need any help, you can ask us there. You're also free to leave your questions in the comments section of the video. And as always, until next time,